Hello, my name's Simon Green. I'm Professor of Criminology and Victimology here at the University of Hull, and I'm here to talk to you about a fabulous opportunity for PhD scholarships funded by the Economic and Social Research Council, the ESRC White Rose Doctoral Training Partnership, which has just been re-awarded. So we've got several years of scholarships to apply for. Now, it's a consortium university. It's not just the University of Hull. It's shared between ourselves and Bradford, Leeds, Manchester Met, Sheffield Hallam, Sheffield, and the University of York. So it's mainly Yorkshire universities plus Manchester Met, and it's for social sciences PhDs in particular. So this covers a number of areas at the University of Hull. So you can't apply for it if you're in physics or maths, I'm afraid. It's social sciences, but the main subjects that will be included are the business school, criminology, education, history, human geography, psychology, and social work. And if you're in the Energy Environment Institute or the Wilberforce Institute, you can apply through those disciplines for that as well. So essentially, this is a partnership between a number of universities where you get to apply for what are basically some of the most prestigious scholarships available in the United Kingdom. Now, these scholarships, they come with quite a lot of opportunity and quite a lot of kind of advantage. They don't, all your fees will be paid, and there's an annual stipend based on this year's a stipend of £18,600 or so. And unlike some existing PhDs you may have heard about, they run for 3.5 years rather than 3 years. So that funding covers you for the entire period, £18,000 a year for 3.5 years. The reason for the additional half a year is you would be expected to do a research in practice kind of experience. This is 3 months with a non-academic setting, doing a non-academic work that's separate from your own PhD studies, but is about sharing and doing something research related with a non-academic partner. So you could be embedded, for example, in my case as a criminologist, it might be the police, probation, prison service, community safety, home office, Ministry of Justice, or related, something like that. But depending on your discipline, you'd look for a placement in a relevant charitable third sector, private sector organisation. So that's some of the key kind of like dynamics. It's a really positive kind of opportunity, and within that you also get some funding to support travel and research costs, things like that. So it's a very well-funded program. Now, unlike some of the University of Hull scholarships you may have seen elsewhere, what would happen here is you'd apply through the University of Hull, and if you accept onto a program, then you'd move on to apply for a White Rose scholarship, and that would be a competition that would take place between all the applications that came in from all 7 universities. And I'll talk to you briefly about what that competition is based on in a second. But each year across all 7 universities, there's somewhere in the region of 40 to 42 scholarships offered. That's 28 to 33 pathway awards. There are interdisciplinary pathway awards that you apply under, 2 Stuart Hall Foundation awards that are specifically for Black British students, and 2 interdisciplinary research awards. And in addition, there are some advanced quantitative and data analytic awards and collaborative awards where you can work on a project very specifically with an external partner and do research on their behalf, which leads you to also get a PhD. And they're also very competitive and popular. So there's a lot of PhDs available, but of course it is spread across 7 universities, but only in the social science areas. If you've heard about ESRC or similar scholarships in the past, you'll know that they're often described as 1+3 kind of degrees. So you do a master's and then the 3 years PhD. That won't be the case going forward. We have, as I said, this 3.5-year degree. If you have got a master's in the social sciences already with lots of methods training, that's all you need to do. If you haven't got any masters and no social science training in methods in particular, then you would have to do a master's probably. And if you've got some, then we have some additional funding to support up to 3 3/4 years to do some additional credits in advanced social science research training. And one of the key things, of course, one of the great opportunities is because it's across all 7 universities, you get to meet students at other universities and you get to access training offered by those universities, specialist training for specifically for PhD students, and you'll meet with other PhD students and academics from across all 7 universities. It's great for broadening your knowledge base, getting to know people, positioning yourself for the job market in future years. So this is one of the major advantages of applying for one of these scholarships rather than one of the other ones you might be interested in. I'm not going to say too much more about the actual kind of like scholarship process, but I think the key things or headlines are: it's 3.5 years of funding. You have most of the time to do, nearly all the time, to do a research and practice part, which is basically like a placement. it's across 7 universities. It relates to all social sciences at the University of Hull. Those disciplines are in the business school, criminology, education, history, human geography, psychology, and social work. So if you're in one of those disciplines or one of those departments, you can apply for one of these scholarships on a competitive basis if and when you apply through the University of Hull. The key things they're looking for in an application is essentially the quality of the proposal. Does the research have real potential? Are you able to articulate a gap in existing knowledge, why it's important, how you're going to investigate it, and what you're hoping to contribute with it? You'll need to cover some things around, obviously, therefore, the existing research and the sort of methodological approach you're taking, as well as ethical considerations and contingency. For example, what happens if we, God forbid, have to live through another pandemic? You also really, and this is really important, need to think carefully about who your supervisors might be. So if you're not sure, find the postgraduate research lead in your subject and go and ask them about your topic. So there's absolutely no point applying for this unless you've got research active supervisors who can support you through the process with a track record of research and PhD supervision. So for example, I would be a good shout if you're interested in the victims of crime or community justice, because I write, publish and supervise other PhD students in that area. Similarly, if it was around human trafficking or exploitation, you need to find the right supervisor. You can ask your personal supervisor if you're in your undergraduate or master's year, who would be a good person? It might be your personal supervisor, or indeed your dissertation supervisor is also a good person to ask. The two things are essentially the quality of your research project, the proposal, and having the right supervisory team to support you through your doctoral studies. And this is the two key considerations that the White Rose are prioritizing. There are a few other bits and bobs, but I won't bore you with those right now. So essentially, the only other thing to say is that there is 7 pathways around which you have to locate your own project within. So this is a project you choose around your interest, and then you find the right supervisor to support it, rather than you apply for a PhD project that is of your supervisor or the university's interest. But you take your own research interest, your own project, and you align it with one of these 7 pathways. They're quite broad pathways, so it shouldn't be too difficult. So the first one is civil society development democracy. That's one pathway. There's also digital technologies, communications and artificial intelligence. That's another one. A third pathway is education, childhood and youth. A fourth one, this might be closer to my own interests, is security, conflict and justice. The 5th one is space, place, environment and livability. That might work well for the human geographers, for example. Then there's sustainable growth, business, work and economic productivity. That might work well for the business school. And then finally, well-being, health and communities, which could work well for psychology, for example. So they sit across a number of different disciplines, and you don't have to think about them being tied to one discipline, but you have to think about your project in relationship to these priorities of the Economic and Social Research Council and the scholarship scheme. So that's an important criteria. So in essence, you've got a fabulous opportunity to apply for a scholarship which will be fully funded, with lots of other opportunities to network and to develop further training across all 7 universities. So if you're interested in one of these scholarships, if you're thinking you've got what it takes to really compete with some of the strongest students at university in terms of putting together a really strong research proposal, if you've got something you really want to find out about and you think, oh, I want that person to be my supervisor, then you're in a really good place to apply for one of these scholarships, which, as I've said, is one of the most prestigious scholarship schemes available in the UK. And if you want more information, there are 2 places you might want to look. The first is the University of Hull scholarship web pages, which can be accessed via www.hull.ac.uk/study/postgraduate/research, and looking for the White Rose training scholarships in there. Or the White Rose has its own web pages where absolutely everything you could ever need to know is kept, and that's www.wrdtp.ac.uk/studentships. Those are the 2 web pages, and it's also really important to let you know that we have our own internal email address, so you can contact any of us in the university via this email address, and someone will put you in touch with the right person. And that email address is whiterosedtp@hull.ac.uk. whiterosedtp hull.ac.uk, and that will put you in touch with Kirsty Skelton-Clark, who is our White Rose kind of coordinator at the university, and myself and my colleague Dr. Elspeth Robson. We oversee the White Rose for the university, and there are a number of other academics across each of the areas of social sciences who can advise and support you and potential supervisors with your application. So good luck, get stuck in, and what we really want to see is you have the opportunity to win some of these amazing scholarships which give you such fantastic opportunities to begin your academic life and do what is essentially the most kind of fulsome, integrated and a well-resourced kind of a scholarship scheme going. So do look into it further. This sounds like it might be right for you.